Good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday, guys. I wanted to post, in addition to the answers for practice A, I wanted to post the work, okay? So we just had to do the 1 through 8. So for number 1, we had tangent 1 plus cosine minus sine. Okay, the first 4 were just simplifying. So these to me are a little bit harder because you don't exactly know where you're going, but you're just trying to smush everything the best you can. This is not a trig identity. It's not squared, so we're just going to distribute. Tangent plus tangent cosine minus sine. Okay? Again, we're going to switch everything to sines and cosines. Sine over cosine plus sine over cosine times cosine over 1 minus sine. Again, pay attention to the signs. They matter. Okay? So we're going to cancel out the cosines here. And what happens with sine minus sine right here? That cancels out, right? And then sine minus sine goes away. We just have sine over cosine left. You could leave it as that, but technically that simplifies back to tangent. Okay? So that is number 1. Again, I know you have the answer key, but some of you need a little bit of a verbal explanation. Number 2. Secant squared 1 minus cosine squared. Now, this is a Pythagorean identity right here. That's going to be sine squared. Secant squared turns into 1 over cosine squared. Some of you are losing your exponents, okay? And I do it at times too. This is secant squared, and some of you will put 1 over cosine. So be careful with your exponents. That's over 1. You put this together, becomes that, which is tangent squared. Okay? So that is number 2. Another way you could have done it if you didn't see this was a Pythagorean identity, you could distribute in and still simplify, but this is the easiest way. Number 3, cosine squared 1 plus tangent squared. Again, we've got a Pythagorean identity. Always look for these, guys. Make your life easier if you see those. 1 plus tangent squared is secant squared. Secant squared is the same as 1 over cosine squared. And then these cancel out. Please don't put 0. It should be 1. Okay? Hopefully, guys, you are getting better at this. Okay? Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully. Again, we're going to try some type of quiz on Thursday. Not sure how I want to do it yet, but just make sure you guys are ready for something. Cosecant over cotangent. Several different ways to do this, guys, but again, I think of reciprocal identities. Yeah. I don't like this fraction, so I'm going to get rid of it. Cotangent in the bottom, okay, is the same as tangent in the top. So then you end up with cosine. Cosecant is still up there. Cotangent going up to top becomes tangent. Again, I only do that so that I don't have fractions over fractions. Okay, now I'm going to make them into fractions, but there's only one row of them, if you will. So cosine over 1, 1 over sine, and then tangent is sine over cosine. That way it's just one row of fractions. It's not one down in the bottom. You don't have to do reciprocal, any of that. And then we just look at what cancels. Cosines cancel, sines cancel. Again, do not write 0. So number 4 was also 1. So the top 4 on this worksheet, guys, were simplified. The bottom 4 are proving, which is also why it's important, guys. Some of you have written back, you need to show more work, because you know it's supposed to equal 0 on number 5. Some of you will just write blah, 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 and then 0. The work has to match. Okay? So, let's look at this. I'm going to worry about this fraction. Obviously, we need to clean up this parenthesis. Because in order for this to be true, this fraction has to be 1. Hold on. Okay. This has to be 1 in order for this to be true. But guys, you got to show your work. You can't just be like, oh, it's 1. Show your work here. Okay? I'm going to bring this up top like we did on that last problem. So I have sine A, secant A, and cotangent A. Okay? So I just brought this up top so that I didn't have fractions over fractions. Now I'm going to change them all to sines and cosines and see what can cancel. Sine over 1, 1 over cosine, cosine over sine. Okay? Now, what cancels? The sines cancel. Cosines cancel. This is 1. What is 1 take away 1? 0. Again, the work needs to be there. So that was number 5. Number 6, we got 2 Pythagorean identities. Okay, we've got and they're in parentheses, cotangent squared plus 1 sine squared minus 1 equals a negative cotangent squared. All right. Cotangent squared plus 1 is going to get you cosecant squared. Pythagorean identity. This is one of those guys that's backwards. Remember, if it's backwards, it makes it a negative. Okay? Everybody see that, hopefully. Remember, we haven't had this one in a minute. Cosine squared plus sine squared is 1. You subtract sine squared, you get this. But this is flipped. Sine squared minus 1, this is 1 minus sine squared. So you just switch all their signs. That's why it's negative. Hopefully you guys remember that. All right, now we're trying to get this to cotangent. I'm going to switch this to 1 over sine squared. That's still up top. Negative cosine squared over sine squared is negative cotangent squared. That was number 6. All right, two more, guys. I wish I had some jokes for you, but I don't. 7. 7's got a lot to it. Let's look. Sine plus cosine cotangent plus cosecant equals 2 cosecants. A lot of you just slap stuff down on this one. Okay? So, let's see. I'm going to switch everything to sines and cosines first. And remember, pay attention to the signs. These are multiplied, but those are adds. So, sine over 1 plus cosine over 1 times cosine over sine plus 1 over sine. Right? Everybody go with that? So, whoops, darn it. Just like class. All right, here we go. These cannot cancel, but we can combine that. We've got sine over 1 plus cosine squared over sine plus 1 over sine. Now, obviously, guys, in order to make it look like that, I have to smush them all together. In order to add them all, they have to have what? Good, a common denominator. So we're going to have to change this one to sine to match those. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So you got to multiply that by sine. So there is our new one. We've got sine squared, cosine squared, capped in, plus 1. Over common denominator. Yep, that's my Captain America. Must see something outside, like a squirrel or a leaf moving. All right, so let's look. We've got Pythagorean identity. Sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. What's 1 plus 1? 2. 2 over sine, guys. And then remember, sine in the bottom is the same as, yep, cosecant in the top. And there we go. Okay, so that was number 7. Last one. All right. Number 8. Tan x plus cotangent x has to equal cosecant x secant x. Okay? So this one, you got to look, guys. The left side is a plus. The right side is multiply. So we got to do some finagling here. I'm going to get sines and cosines, and then we'll look at common denominators. This is sine over cosine plus cosine over sine. Okay? You cannot cancel those out. That wouldn't even give us the other side anyway. But some of you will be like, oh, sines cancel cosines. Okay, why can't they? Good. Somebody out there said because it's a plus. So in order to plus these, smush them together, we need common denominator. I'm going to make my common denominator, the two of them together, cosine sine, cosine sine. Okay? We multiplied this by the sine, so that's going to make that numerator sine squared. Okay? And then we're going to do this times cosine, got to do it to the top, cosine squared. We should know this by now. What's sine squared plus cosine squared? 1. And there's your common denominator, right? Now, this is close. Cosine in the bottom is the same as secant in the top. And sine, or 1 over sine, is the same as cosecant. Ding, ding, ding. We are done. All right. So, guys, your assignment is to finish this worksheet, okay? It's the back, but I've titled it 5.2 Extra Practice B. So that is what you guys will do next. Just more practice. That is the main way to get better at these, guys, is practice, practice, practice. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a good rest of your day. Miss you guys. Bye.